Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Allison Jr. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how are we doing today?
Just feeling like a fourth place winner, you know.
Oh, no. I got bamboozled.
Yeah.
That's really good. For the people not in the live
How are you?
audience, we started the episode about a minute ago, and then my podcast machine just crashed. So this is the second time. Good thing it crashed like 50 seconds into the recording. So that's, if there was a time for it to just like end up like just croaking and dying, then that was the time. I'm doing good, Tom. But I made a joke that Tom won fourth, and then he starts the podcast like that. So
Yeah.
that was good.
I don't want to be called a fourth place winner. I don't need that on my resume. My resume is strong enough as it is. I'm going to leave that one
You
off.
won fourth, dude. If you don't know what we're referring to, welcome to the podcast. I feel like you would understand what's going on. Tom raced in IMSA last weekend at Daytona in TCR. So Tom, welcome back. Welcome back to reality where we're just in rooms talking into microphones.
I know.
I bet
This
it was
is the
nice
last time
break.
you saw me. I was also in a room talking into a microphone. Dude, I'm not recovered yet. I still feel like I need another couple of days to like be quiet because it was so overstimulating for so many days. 10 days in Daytona, Florida. I don't know about Daytona Beach, Florida for 10 days. You know how I got like a 2-day rule on Vegas? It's more than 2 for Daytona Beach, but 10 is a lot.
I have like a 30-minute rule for Vegas. Like I'm there for 30 minutes and I'm already ready to like leave.
Yeah, I have like, it's a 48-hour rule, and it doesn't matter when you get there versus, you know, from that point, 48 hours.
Yeah, I'm with Whitney when she says 10 days in Daytona is 6 too many, for sure.
No, actually, Daytona's not a nice town, but Daytona's fine. It's just a lot of overstimulating days for a little introvert like me.
Oh, we love you, Tom.
It was so rad, though. It was so much fun. I still like, I'm getting little videos pop up. Like I'm starting to find, obviously my YouTube algorithm gets guided by like me just saying that right now. So I'm getting these videos of like IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge practice that's like popping up from different people who are standing there with cameras going by.
Yeah.
As we go by, and just like seeing our car go by on track on these nice, cool videos. Just little things like that are still popping up that are really cool.
So you posted a YouTube video of you driving an in-car, but I thought you weren't allowed to do that. Do they just not know?
No, I'm assuming that they're not going to know. There is basically IMSA owns all the right to any sort of like media that's produced on track from the car. So what I posted today, I mean, I got called out. I think the limit is either 5 or 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I posted a 15-minute video. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I don't really know. I'm assuming they're not going to care about some 4th place winner from TCR. Like they're not. But if I hear about it, I hear about it. Hey, let's try to, if you're listening to this, go watch my video, see how many views we can get it. And if I can get it algorithmed up enough that I get in trouble, that'd be pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's how when you get that IMSA call, you'll be like, little chip on your shoulder. You're like, heck yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. My little video on YouTube caught your attention and it's breaking the rules. Oh, I am so sorry. I'll take it down.
Yep.
Yep.
I used to never post IMSA video because I don't know why. I think there was a little bit, I mean, I was scared of getting in trouble because they do have some media rules over the total quantity of time per event you can post.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how it used to be. I didn't actually check this time, but I think it was either 15 minutes total per weekend or maybe 5. But I also felt like kind of protective over what people could see of what I used to post. Because I didn't really want to post like what I was doing in a TCR car in case someone like watched it and figured it out. Now I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get you. You're like, I don't need anybody to figure out my secrets. They're like, guys, I watched Tom O'Gorman's video. It turns out I should just drive better. Like,
maybe
if we just drove better, we would win races.
It would. I mean, there's probably little nuance you can pick up from a video if you're smart enough, but like not familiar with front wheel drive or something.
I don't know. I've been watching VRS videos for a while, and I'm still not as fast as those guys in sim racing. So.
Yeah, when I watch those kind of videos, I'm just like, yeah, the car's doing exactly what I want my car to do. I just can't frickin' feel anything, so it doesn't do that.
That's how everyone feels, dude.
I know.
Like, no, in
That's why I
real
don't
life
like put too
too.
much energy into it.
Well, in real life too.
Yeah, but I don't have that problem in real life.
That you know of.
That's true. Not yet, anyway. If I do, then I'll get there.
If the ecosystem was as like flushed with people, like if real life was as approachable as sim racing and the data was so like readily available and people got as much practice time as they ever wanted in real life, I
Oh,
bet like it
racing
would
would be
be,
ruined.
oh my god, it would be the best, dude. Oh,
It would be so ruined. Do you
oh,
want? Okay,
that would be my
email
favorite
us,
version of racing.
listener. Would you prefer if motorsports was more the way it is now, where they get a little bit of practice, or a literally unlimited practice, and everybody could just drive the same all the time?
If everyone could do it, if it was that approachable, you're gonna fight against that level of approachability with motorsports?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way you're winning that. Can I do a poll? Are polls possible? Hold on, let me see if that's a thing. It is not. Wait, use apps?
I mean, unlimited driving time would be awesome, but just like
No.
I hate the way the dynamic in iRacing is. There's no way I'd like it in real life. No way.
Yeah, okay, people are agreeing with Tom. Can we get some DJ agrees or I agree with DJ in the chat,
Hot
please?
take.
We need a quick poll. We need a quick poll of just people in the chat just chiming in. So Tom, I know you would have loved to win. Yeah, people are all right. People are agreeing with you. I guess. All right, Tom. Well, 2 people have agreed with you. 2 people have Tom. I'm waiting on Tom. Tom Atkins has been typing for a while. I don't know if he's hunting and pecking or if he's got a long reply coming. But I got hopes, Tom. Don't let me down. Oh, he stopped. I scared him. Dang it. But I know you would have rather have won, but I think you did your job as a race car driver, which is just extract everything you could from the time that you were in the car. Because when I watched your YouTube video, it looked like you were in a different class, dude. It wasn't so much like, it was how the other cars got to the top speed. They would get there so much faster than yours. I think like when you hit aero drag, like everyone was going about the same speed, but they would just get there much faster. Did it feel like that in the car?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I joked that I was going to take notes. I literally, look, I took notes on like what I can tell stories about for the whole weekend
Oh my
on
God,
the
I
drive
love
home.
this.
Not while I was driving. I would never do that.
No.
But so I have a lot to talk about. But in general, yeah. So we finished 4th and we started 14th. I'm pretty realistic about like general competition. Like I don't think I'm going to go into races winning that I'm not going to win versus like, I think a realistic outlook is the healthiest way to be. So I kind of knew that like I was flying down there with a basically 0% chance of winning just because we do have the oldest car. We're the only ones running a previous generation as old as we're running. I guess that's the main reason that I thought, especially because after 5 days on track, like we had never been even close. We'd been like a second and a half to a second off the whole time.
Like,
and this time it wasn't because like last year it was because we were running that different gearbox. I talked about that last week and they hadn't been BOPing that car. This year's car, I'm not willing to blame the BOP specifically, but we also didn't really have an engineer that we were working with. We were getting a lot of information, as I told stories about, like trying to get the car as good as possible. But when we got on track, it just wasn't good enough. And the fact that it was so slow, specifically on the straights, was like, well, maybe it was BOP. But yeah, I got freaking motored.
It
Like
just
both
looked like
restarts.
you guys
Go
would
ahead.
you would get on the power at the same time as the car in front of you, and then they would just pull like 3-4 car lengths on you before like the next corner, and that's just on the infield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's what I noticed, and you will have some like I think it's called like a Konstantinov effect, right? You will have that a little bit, but like, is that what it's called, or is that a hockey player?
Concertina.
Constantinov. Okay. Konstantinov is a hockey player from like when I was a child.
It's Ivan Konstantinov.
I think that's what his name was. It was
Ivan? They're all
either
Ivan.
that or like Sergey or something.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, dude, Hockey as a child was really that was really entertaining. Before they went on strike, like the first time, I probably watched like 5 to 6 hockey games a week, and then they went on strike, and I like found other things to be interested in, and then
Huh.
and then I started to like get back into it, and then they went on strike again, and I've literally never watched it since. Yeah,
I didn't.
Christine's got it. Vladimir Konstantinov.
Oh, of course, it's Vladimir.
Yeah, there's like 3
Um,
Russian names, let's be honest.
what is what? No, you said why did the hockey players went on strike for something?
Yeah, they went on strike against the I'm totally gonna butcher this. So if I butcher this, it gives you an excuse to write in an email, right? Podcast at lizardbrains.life. Yeah, it was something like I mean, the players just wanted to get paid more, right? Like they're the whole reason all the fans are there, and then like the teams were getting like probably an unfair, like the team owners were getting an unfair cut of whatever that revenue was. And the players just basically they wanted to you know get a more fair slice because they're the ones that are destroying their bodies to make it happen, essentially. Um,
Gotcha.
anyways, what were we talking about?
About Daytona. Should I go chronological or should I just go as I think of things? Because it's a lot of things.
Is that chronological?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I want Tom's full Daytona brain dump. I think that's why
Okay,
the people
okay,
are
okay.
here.
So the last we talked was right before we went back on track for like the official event. So we had done all of the roar. If you want to hear the roar stories, that's last week's episode. But this week, we got on track on Wednesday, and they had done the engine swap. We basically had an older engine unit that had more hours on the engine and transmission. So we used that one at the roar, and then they swapped the fresher one with way less hours on it in for the race itself. And when we went out for the session on Wednesday, we only get one. We sat around from 7:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go on track. And as I'm going out, getting up to speed, the car is making this like huge groaning noise, like massive, loud groaning noise. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Great. Something. And it sounded like it's coming from the right front. What's your question?
All they changed was the engine and the trans,
Yeah.
and then you're getting that loud grounding noise.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm reporting on the radio back to them, right? And it's like speed related, but there's no vibration in the wheel. There's nothing indicated on my like input side that the car is handling poorly. All that's normal. It's just this massive groaning. And I'm like, it kind of sounds like a wheel bearing to me, but I think it's the right front. So I come back in, they're checking the right front. I told them I think it sounds like a wheel bearing. And we went and changed the axle. We go back out, it's still there. Somebody else drives the car. They also hear it. It's like not in my brain. It
So
ended up, I
they
was so
ruled
proud of
out-
myself.
Hold on, I love that the troubleshooting step was like, get somebody else's ears in the car.
Yeah. Well, I kind of know, but okay. So it ended up being a wheel bearing. I was so proud of myself,
What if that person
but
went
it
out
was
there?
the right rear.
What if that person went
Huh?
out there? What if that person went out there and then was like, I don't hear anything. Tom's crazy. Would you be like, oh no?
No, I wasn't worried about that. I
or
was
would-
worried. If anything, I'm tuned in too much to cars, and if anything's even the slightest bit off, I'm like, this is happening, right? Like
Yeah.
I have a hypersensitivity to what the car feels like. And then if someone else is like, just leave it, like that is what it is, great, I'll ignore it. But I don't want to ignore something that's clearly not supposed to be there without telling somebody like, hey, this is, by the way, this is happening.
Yeah.
Just as like a blanket, anytime I drive anybody's car, I ask 3 questions. I ask, do I have ABS? Yes or no? What RPM should I shift at? And then I subtract 300 RPM from that when I actually shift. And then are there any like noises that I should be prepared for and ignore?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah. So if all those things check out and the car goes like, if they're like, yeah, it always grinds when I go into 4th gear, and then my first shift to 4th, it just grinds. It's like, okay, they told me that was going to happen. I'll ignore that. I'll just grind through it. So anyway, I was super proud of myself because I identified a wheel bearing noise.
Hell yeah. Good job, Tom.
But it was on the wrong corner. I thought it was right front. It was right rear. So
Tom,
we wasted.
I am proud of you as Carlton McCar guy, the resident car guy of Lizard Brains. I am deeply proud of you, Tom. Congrats.
Oh, thanks, Carlton. Don't ask me to replace it though.
What is it like on a TCR car? It's probably just like a normal Civic, right?
You think I know? I don't know.
You didn't even watch? What did you do?
I don't know.
You're like,
I was doing something else.
yeah, handle it, guys, and he just like started like Instagramming.
That's how pro racing works. My job is not to be under the car. So we wasted the first practice session because of that, and that was when I was supposed to do my first sticker run. So then I didn't get to do a sticker run. Eric went out. Eric got some laps just driving around with the wheel bearing making noise.
Yeah.
So those are the only laps Eric got, I think, before the race on Friday. So then practice 2, I go out on scuffs, the same tires I was on flipped. And I got like 4 laps, but it was, what was that one? It was early in the morning. So it was like 45 degrees. It was the video I posted on Instagram of the car sliding around.
Yeah.
That was the best the car was for me before the race, meaning that was the most ideal condition with the car working properly, but it was 45 degrees.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And that was the first time I realized there was something. There's a whole bunch of stuff as like from the driving perspective that stood out to me. And the first one was in that moment, I realized because I've been competing on 200 treadwear tires almost primarily for the last 4 years, I didn't have the instant like readiness for the slicks. So when I'm going around at 45 degrees in the morning and I'm in a front wheel drive car on slicks, like all things I've done before, I wasn't instantly prepared for whatever the tire was going to give me like I used to be, specifically the rear tires. And like I feel like it was like, instead of being like right there ready for me, it's like here, like I'm just reaching a little further. I had to like lean forward in my chair to grab it rather than like just have it with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
So that was one of those like, okay, something's definitely changed since the last time I was here within my being. And my being is like not prepared for this like it used to be. But I was talking to my old engineer about this. On the flip side of that, I can get in any 200 treadwear tire shod car, whatever the brand is, and I know exactly what the tire pressures need to be and what driving style and what sort of feel to expect. Whether it's Kumos, Bridgestones, Yokohamas, whatever it is, like I know because I've driven all of them so much the last couple of years. But put me on Michelin slicks, and I was a little bit like, I think I know, but okay, I knew that time.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around and find out. So like you have to have to take these like tiny chunks instead of just like be right there right away. You have to have to do tiny bits of experimentation. So if you're wrong, then you don't have big consequences.
Yep. And I remember there was this kid from Argentina that came in who had raced TCR cars. He was paired with Morgan Burkhart in one of the Hyundais. And he was really fast, but he came out of the pit lane while I was doing that warm up and he like blew by me. But then he go into the next corner and he like lost the rear and like chased the car. And we did it at the same speed. But he was clearly like, he knew it was going to happen. And I was like, not at that level. So that was a little bit of a like, whoa, I want to do this more just so I fix that, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know how to get around that other than to be doing it more like I used to be doing it. Also, when I got there on Wednesday, I found out that one of the pieces of my helmet wasn't correct. And this is the second year in a row that I've had to get down there and spend hundreds of dollars on my helmet to make it like legit for IMSA.
What was wrong with your helmet? It was such a nice helmet.
I know. So last year I had to get the radio harness installed because the IMSA style radio, if you have one in your helmet, there's 3 rings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in actual IMSA and like competition with driver ID, they install a 4th ring on the harness, and that's how they tell if the driver's in the car. And then they assign each driver a different driver ID, and when you plug it into the radio, they know who you are. Well, last year I didn't have that, and then this year I show up, and IMSA requires a little inflatable pocket on the top of your head that they can plug an air thing into, I guess like a compressed air or something, and like pump the helmet off your head. So if you get a neck injury or a major incident, they can plug into your helmet. They inflate the little pad in the top of your, like right at the top of your head, and it pulls the helmet gently off your head without having to touch your neck. And that was like $150 to get installed and purchase. It's like, oh my God, that's everything you do here is so expensive.
That's annoying. Is mine right? Hold on. That's right, correct?
Yeah, so that's an IMSA style no driver ID.
Oh, this doesn't have driver ID.
And then mine, correct. If you were to put mine next to it, mine would have one extra ring around it and be a little bit longer.
Gotcha. So I would have to spend $200.
you would have to spend $300. That one was $300.
Guys, look, I know I've been just getting all these IMSA offers left and right, but like I'm just gonna have to turn it down, guys. I don't have $300 laying around.
I know. It's like such a small amount of money in the grand scheme of IMSA, but
Of
when like
what
I've
you're doing.
like scraped myself together to get there, and then it's like surprise, $300.
Yeah, like Tom drove
Come on.
down there because he's like, that's slightly cheaper than flying.
Yeah,
yeah.
I did.
So man, wild.
So
Hopefully
yeah, that was a thing that happened on Wednesday. I went and spent $150 to put a little inflatable pouch in my helmet.
Is it like
So then
wait, hold on. Can you explain how the pouch works? Is it in it?
it's in the padding of the helmet. So they take the padding out, they adhere it to the actual shell of the helmet. You know, the interior, not the shell, but the interior padding of the helmet
Yeah.
under what the padding for your head. And it's kind of like if you were to take a Ziploc like freezer sized bag, fold it up into a pocket about the size of your palm, and then it's like it's folded super tightly and deflated, almost vacuumed, so it's flat, and then it's just inside the top of your helmet.
And then what? Like the way to access it like pops out like the top or something, or
It's right next to your radio, so it's like right here on driver's left, right where
Okay.
your Hans and radio pop out, and it's just got a tiny little tube that runs up to it. So like I said, if they suspect you have a neck injury or something, they can remove the helmet without pulling basically on your head. It just
Yeah, I mean, I
slowly
guess-
puffs it off.
yeah, I guess that makes sense. That was $200.
$150 to get it purchased and installed.
Wow.
Crazy, right? I just thought that was wild. This is the second year I've shown up and my helmet somehow needs hundreds of dollars invested back into it.
Yeah, because if you're doing IMSA all the time, you would have been like, you wouldn't have shown up and then figured out. It's a good thing that they have stuff around for you to be able to do that. Because what if you showed up and they're like, oh, you need a helmet ejection system? Didn't you see guideline 33.7-C?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, dude, I'm here with the Champ Car team. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I mean, in general, they like even the manufacturers send trucks worth of parts that teams would need. In Ferrari Challenge, dude, they send 5 race cars. I think I said that before.
Like a
on this
spare?
Because there's 40 people racing these Ferraris, so they bring 5 full cars ready. If someone writes off their car, they could just go buy a new one.
No,
They have everything. The industry of motorsports in pro racing paddocks is like top tier. They have everything figured out for
Dude,
capitalism.
That would be next level, though. You're like, oh my God, I just ruined my $400,000 car. You know what I need in this moment? Another $400,000 car.
Yeah.
Oh, Whitney, that's
Yeah, let
funny.
alone all the parts they bring.
Yeah, Whitney says 5 doesn't sound like enough for Ferrari Challenge. Oh no, called out.
I think they have run out.
They ran
before.
out. They're like, guys, we need to. They're like in their boardrooms, and they have like a PowerPoint of like why they need a bigger hauler because like it will pay for itself like over a couple seasons, and they have like the lines intersecting on a graph. Why they need the bigger
Totally.
hauler because they run out of Ferrari Challenge cars sometimes.
So, do you remember when? Do you know how Volkswagen Auto Group pulled out of motorsports basically? So Audi no longer has like motorsports customer programs. Like they're not updating cars anymore or doing anything like that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that that's a big deal is Audi is no longer sending trucks full of parts to races for TCR and
yeah.
GT3 and GT4 cars to just support themselves. So now the teams have to bring all their own spares instead of Audi bringing a trailer full of all their spares.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what the biggest casualty of that whole thing is the Audi GT3 car. I love that thing. It's so cool. I mean, they're still gonna
Yeah.
be raced, but there wasn't any in Daytona, right?
No.
No?
No, the only Audis were TCR cars.
Yeah. Womp womp. All right, what's next on the list, Tom? I'm loving this. I love this
So
so
the
much.
next thing that got us through Wednesday and Thursday, so it's now Friday. I'm so glad we did the Roar because we basically didn't get any track time because of both the mechanical issue and needing to get 3 drivers through the car. All right, so it's Friday morning. First thing is drivers meeting. And dude, the IMSA drivers meetings are so freaking impressive. They just like they blow me away every time with like how calculated and clear and concise, and like they've thought of exactly what we're going to think of and they answer the question ahead of time. to the point that at the end, every time there's no questions and there's no misunderstanding. There's no, like, everything's just perfectly clear. And
Does anybody record it?
I,
Because I would love to be on a fly on the wall for one of them.
yeah, I don't think they do. I think I could probably do it. Like if I just pulled my camera out, it's not private in any way, but for example, I mean, they'll run through some pretty basics. They don't cover any sort of like, here's your racecraft expectation. They don't run through any sort of like, make sure you're looking at your, obviously it's a little elevated from that. So that's different from
Wait,
a club.
they don't tell you what a
one.
red flag means?
No, but they do typically start with like event flow, paddock flow. I mean, we've already been on track a bunch, so some of this like redundant. The orange cut throughs that you're supposed to pull behind if the car is broken, they reemphasize where those all are every time. They do a little virtual track walk with photos, but then they just they clear up all of the questions and concerns. For example, one of the things that I thought of this year was, did you see how they paved all of the entry to the bus stop?
Yeah.
So on driver's left, even of all the curbing and everything, everything's paved now up until close to the exit, which means you could basically straight line the entry. And in MX5 Cup, they were straddling all the curbs, keeping their car barely on the curb and like straight lining into the bus stop. So they were cutting the corner. So they thought of that and they shared like, here's what your track limit expectation is. Here's what your rejoin expectation is. And then they go over like when pit stops are happening. Did you happen to see on the stream when I'm coming out of my pit box and I'm like jockeying for position with like three other cars?
Yep.
I can't wait to see. I haven't seen that yet, but I knew it was happening. Well, in the driver's meeting, they've already gone over, if you leave your pit box with any amount of overlap to a car next to you, even if it's literally like I'm up here and this guy's here and we don't clear like
So Tom's
emblems
showing
or bumpers.
Tom showing an inch for the audio listeners.
Yeah. If I'm everything but an inch ahead, I actually am supposed to go fully behind. So it prevents all of the racing out of the pit lane.
Yeah.
You're supposed to clear into a clear spot, not into someone's door. That's essentially what the rule's for.
Yeah, it was behind the driver that you had overlap with.
Correct. So we were leaving the pit lane.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it was me and one other car. I came out ahead, but I was alongside him. So by the rules, I had to drop back and pull in behind him. But it was for the lead. So they're telling me like I'm getting ahead of myself, but in the race, they're like, be aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive, clear right, not clear right, stay left, be aggressive, be aggressive. And I know I'm supposed to drop behind, but I'm going to wait till the last freaking second, dude.
See if
and
that
then
guy
I finally
backs
pull
out?
in.
To see if
Just in case,
person. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Way to be a
but
lizard,
just the
Tom.
fact that they thought of, that's my IMSA style, elbows out, baby.
That's not what I meant. I meant just being like, I'm going to maximize this. This guy might make a mistake, right? Like you put the pressure on him or her. I don't know who's in the car, but you put a pressure on them to make a mistake. And if they let you, well, what would happen if they let you by?
I might be risking a penalty, to be honest. If they let me in and then report that I didn't follow the procedure correctly.
Yeah, maybe.
Which I got to teaser for like 10 minutes ahead of now. I got to go to race control and watch it. It was so cool. So I have all that story to tell.
Okay.
But yeah, just the fact that the person who's giving the drivers meetings and is the race director, his name's Bo Barfield, was a racer, and you can tell that he thinks of everything to answer through the lens of a race car driver who's going to look for every competitive advantage and does the drivers meeting according to that in a very respectful and concise way that we can just like, okay, we understand exactly what you mean. Is impressive to me every time. So I had to like call that out. Then for anybody watching the race, you're going to know this, but dude, there was so much attrition in the first like hour.
Yeah. What was
so
up
we're
with the
sitting on the
tires?
pit lane. What?
So many tires were getting like blown up.
Yeah, so they have a new tire this year, and it looked like it was failing on the bright rear of a bunch of the Caymans and GS. But also, every time anybody touched anybody, their tire would go flat. So I don't know if they were fragile, if people were running them low. I don't know what's up with that, but I'm just talking about like within the first hour of the race, there are 17 TCR cars. 6 of them were out of the race. And then by the time I got in the car, I think 2 more were out. So like over 50% of the field by the time I got in the car had either crashed out, had an engine failure, had something break. And like we're basically just watching our car not pass anybody and get up the field. Like at one point, we're in eighth and we haven't passed anybody yet, except for the cars that are
We
broken off
haven't
track.
passed anybody.
Yeah.
When you jumped in the car, you were in second randomly, right?
Yeah, because our pit stop took
'Cause
us from I think eighth to second.
yeah, how was your
Okay,
pit stop that
that's the
much
next thing.
faster?
Dude, our crew guys, they were so badass. And yet, like you said, we're like a champ car. We're these guys know what they're doing. They picked the right people. We had the fewest crew people there, but these guys freaking home run the pit stops every
They
single
must
time.
have, dude. Because every time you came out of the pit stop, you were close to first, but then ended up in second, like pulling out.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it was honestly
So
super impressive.
both pit stops I did, I came out second. I think I went from eighth to second on the first stop and sixth on the road to second. I was in fifth, but one car was ahead of me on track from a lap down when we pit. So yeah, they were super impressive.
What made him so much better, you think?
So I think what happened, one of the things that helped is we were the only TCR car in our area. So like all the Hyundais, there's 4 of them from Brian Herta. They share 4 pit boxes in a row.
So they're like stacked on
And
top of each other.
right, so I think one of them got boxed in by its own teammate twice. The car that would have been like it came in first, but then it was not the first one in line, so they had to like push it back and get it out of the line.
Yeah, yeah.
And these cars have 0 turning radius, like they can't get out of their own way. So if you don't have just like 3 pit boxes open, you're not going to make it. You have to get like pushed around. I don't know what else. I really don't know. They were just like
Because I feel
right
like
on the money, I guess.
I feel like the limiting factor would be the fuel each time. Can you do tires and fuel at the same
It is.
time?
No. Yes. Yes.
Because if you couldn't, then I would see how they would be so much faster if they were just like wizards with impact. But if
No, we did. We did all of it at the same time.
Yeah, so like the fuel, because if I was watching it while working, so I couldn't like put full attention on everything that was happening. But every time there was a pit stop, it seemed like they were doing both. But it seemed like the limiting factor was like how much fuel did they want in the car, and then it would drive away. But you were fine on fuel.
We were calculating and putting you have to put in a specific amount. I don't know. So we could have 73 liters in the car, I think. These numbers might not be right, but I think we could have 73 liters in the car. So they're taking the fuel number from the driver and then they're basically calculating how much by time it's going to take to fill it back up, maybe? I don't know. I've never actually done a pit stop. I should ask all these questions.
Oh yeah, you normally just jump in the car and drive to the end.
Normally, well, yeah, and all the pit stops I've done are like Champ Car or WRO, where you like just put 2 jugs in,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. But this one, it's on like a big boom arm, and they have to know the rate. There's a
rate's
limiting.
Yeah, the rate's
baffle.
regulated. Yep.
Yeah. So I think they're going based on how much time for how much fuel the car needs. I'm gonna ask next time. I never thought to ask these questions.
Yeah, these are all the things that I'd be asking and annoying everyone to death.
Well, that's why I don't ask a lot of questions. I kind of try to stay out of the way.
Yeah, because
Normally I'm.
I don't have that self-awareness. I would just I'd be like, so how does this work? So how does this work? So how does this work? Eventually they would just like tell me to be there at the wrong time, so I miss it. And they're like, cool, we don't have to deal with DJ.
No, I think it's good that you're like that because you'll end up with more information for a lot more stuff. But okay, so that was up to the pit stops. I mean, after that, the car was just slow. It was just kind of like the first restart when I got in the car. I was cautiously optimistic. I was telling everyone, I'm cautiously optimistic the car is going to be better than I think it is. And then I got in for that first restart in second place, and by 2 laps in, I was in fifth. And I was like, nope, it's not better than I thought. It's about what I thought it was going to be.
Well, you had a good
Go
gap
ahead.
behind you and also unfortunately in front of you. You were kind of like in a no man's land for a lot of your stint there.
Well, that was kind of by on purpose. But I mean, what made the car? It just didn't have any drive off the corner. That's why I'm like, I don't think it was. It wasn't specifically BOP because I just could not get power down, and they
Okay.
would leave me until we're like going. But it was like it was pretty good on the way into the corner, and it was like nice and free in the way that it could like kind of create some rotation. But it needed a little bit of trail brake, which is not usually good for a front wheel drive car, I don't think, because it's limiting the amount of time it takes for you to get off the brake and into the throttle and pick up the car to get off the corner.
Also, you're having
And then as soon
that
as you would
additional
finally get off
drag.
the brake, huh?
You're having that additional drag too. Like if you have to shift the weight with the brake to the front, then if you didn't have to do that, then you could be rolling more speed otherwise.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other part is, I mean, so like as soon as I would get off the brake and try to look at the throttle, it would just overdo everything. Like the diff was biting way too hard. And I think a lot of this stuff would have been more obvious had we run stickers sooner, but it is what it is. But the other part is the Michelin Slick really wants like its longitudinal grip is better than its cornering grip. So like you kind of have to get the tire like biting to go forward, and then you can ask it to do what it needs to do. But if you ask it to do lateral load first, and you kind of like overdo that traction, it doesn't get forward bite. So the fact that the car needed to be good getting pointed and going in, and it was like struggling with getting off the corners. So it was just like a bad combo, I guess. Um, so that's specifically why the car was bad. It was just like not
So
able to
you think
do that.
you think
Did I describe that okay?
yeah. So you think leaving the corners, like you weren't able to get like power down as well as the people around you?
Maybe, or they just had more oomph.
Yeah, I
The way
guess
the way it looked in my car is just that they had more oomph.
it's hard to tell from the
But
video that you posted. I wasn't sure how quick you were getting to like full throttle, essentially.
that's what it felt like I had to wait for.
But
So I was
I
kind of
wonder if
controlling how aggressively the diff would bite and lock.
yeah, I wonder if other people were having to feed in throttle at the same rate as well. I mean, you drove you drove literally basically the Audi before, but it was set up differently. It was with Europarts.
Yeah, Euro parts.
Yeah, Europarts, and then you've driven the Honda TCR. So, like, did it? I don't know if you can remember like the rate that you were feeding in throttle, but did it feel like you had to do it slower on this car, or?
Not really. No. No, it's about the same when the Honda was unhappy. Um, but I could get the Honda like squared up and biting like with the tire. You know,
Yeah.
like I described it, it bites better when it's forward, and then it can sort of multitask. But if you do the lateral before you do the longitudinal, it's just shit. Um,
So
I
longitudinal,
don't know if
it's just easy to like overextend the tire and then you don't get it back, essentially.
well, okay, so if you've driven low power cars, you can maybe think of it this way. But for like think of in your Civic, you have steering angle, you're leaning on the tire through the corner, but you can still be on throttle.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Or like in Miatas and stuff, like there's lower powered handling cars. You're on throttle, but the amount of power that the car is doing through the driveline isn't enough to like overwhelm the tire. So you
All
can
on
be
its
doing
own.
both
Yeah.
sort of.
Yep.
So you could be like kind of leaning on lateral load all the way to track out, and then like the tire's still okay. The Michelin, it wants to, or maybe it's just TCR cars. I've only driven this on TCR cars, but it feels like it needs to be provoked to like bite forward. So like the tire, I'm picturing like a drag slick. You know how the drag slick like kind of crinkles and
Yeah.
bites
Yeah.
forward. Like as I'm driving the TCR car, I'm picturing the tire like waiting for that moment where I can feel it kind of like bite, and now the sidewall and the whole tire are like pulling me forward, and then I can still like then I can drive however I need to drive. Like once it's bit that way.
Yeah.
But if I'm just leaning on the tire to the side, like it literally cannot do anything else. It's just like stuck.
I kind of got. Uh, you've driven Bill Staley's like crazy 500 horsepower, like 1,800 pound Civic. You haven't?
Nope.
All right. What you're explaining is exactly how that car felt. Where like, yeah, you can be turning, but like, you can't you can't blend the inputs very well because one is like so overpowered compared to the turning of the car that it feels kind of the similar way where like you really do have to get it squared up before you like squirt to the next like place.
Yeah.
And obviously
Yep.
that's going to be exaggerated in an autocross course because things happen so quickly. But that kind of sounds like what like you're explaining where it's just like It probably can multitask just as much as anything else, but the way that it will fling off the front tires, you have to have it like super squared up, like as you're feeding in power, or there's just not enough fidelity because of the how powerful it is to like really blend those two things together, and you felt like your car was struggling at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still the only thing you have to focus on is like waiting for that moment where you feel it bite and then you can power out of it. So you end up just driving what feels like a lot of straight lines. You just like drive it into the corner, get it to pivot, wait. Okay, drive a straight line off the exit. But anyway, so all that to say, the car was slow. And because I realized that basically from the restart, I didn't really race anybody that hard. Like I just sort of, I was in second, but it's like, this isn't in the video. I didn't have this video to post, but on the second restart, I had every opportunity to go for the lead like twice because the driver in front was like a little conservative into 1 and 3, the first horseshoe. But it's like, okay, what's this for? Because I know I'm just going to be freight trained the moment we get either to the track out of that corner or to the banking. So I feel like it was an exercise in like knowing how to count your losses and just like make the most of it and not be a total pushover and just like pull over and get out of the way, but
Yeah, you're like, well, because
not
you're
not pick
trying.
any fights that are going to frustrate anybody or get myself hit or anything like that.
Well, that definitely that, but then also like anytime you're fighting somebody means that the people in fifth and sixth and seventh, they're going to be even closer to you. So like the more you work together with the people who are going to get by you eventually anyways, just from the pace differential, you're minimizing the time lost by like not having that fight. Like you're like, am I going to be able to fight this person off for 45 minutes? No. Well, let's minimize my time lost in this engagement then, right? Is
Yeah.
that essentially where you were at?
Pretty much. And then, so that was basically the first stint. And then the other part of the second stint, we realized that this full course yellow came out. The car should be able to do like 58 minutes. And I think they pit me with 60 or 61 minutes remaining in the race. All of us, everybody pit at the same time. So they're like, you're going to have to save till the end. Start this stint off by fuel saving. So then I'm starting second with the objective to fuel save. That's when the guy in front is like totally vulnerable. I could have passed him twice. Or no, I could have made the move twice. We would have like ended up side by side for half the lap and stuff. But objective number 1, fuel save. And then after like 2 or 3 laps, they come over the radio and they're like, we've calculated that the Hyundais will run out of fuel within a lap of the finish of this race. So we're going to keep saving, just fuel save. The car behind is 10, 15 seconds back. And I still had to fuel save to make the end. I had to save, I think, a total of, I can't do the math fast enough, but it was a couple of liters over the 2 hours.
It was
Over the 45, 50 minutes. Sorry.
It was 2 laps worth of fuel, right? Or a lap?
Yeah, I ended up over saving, which didn't matter. I oversaved, so I had 4 liters left in the car when we finished, and I needed to save something similar to that to get to the end. So I like ended up over saving, but either way, because my only objective in the car was to save fuel, and they had been telling me, we've calculated the Hyundais are going to be really, really tight on fuel. I don't know how they knew that, but okay. So
they must have been
in
keeping track
the
of it.
time that I'm in the car, beyond the time that I'm like racing the restart, and then everybody kind of gets by me, I'm driving to new marks, like where I lift off and coast, and where I'm fuel saving, and basically convinced myself that a Hyundai was going to run out of fuel. So like I'm doing the whole time on the optimism and on like the hope and dreams that one of these cars is going to run out of fuel. And every lap I'm coming by and I'm looking at a pit lane towards the end of the race after like 12 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go.
You're like, any moment I'm
okay,
going to see
no Hyundai in
Hyundais.
pit lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like they're not going to tell me on the radio. And then during the last like 12, maybe 13 minutes of the race, one of the Hyundais, I think it might have been Morgan's car, broke down and was moving slow on the bottom. So like I see way out, I'm like, Hyundai.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
Tom,
And then-
watching was the same thing. I'm like, they're running out of fuel. Tom's got this.
Yeah.
Like I was like, dude, I was watching it at work, and then I drove home, and then I was like able to watch basically I was watching when you weren't in the car at work, and then when you were in the car, I like was at home, and I was like laying in bed with like the phone like glued to my eyeballs, like watching it. And when that car was running out of gas, I literally stood up in my bed. I was like, "It's happening!" Like I was like, I thought
Yeah.
like for sure, like it, like because I was like, I just, oh man, because I felt it in my core. I'm like, somehow Tom's gonna win this race. I don't know why I know that, but like somehow he's gonna do it. And I bet you were like kind of feeling the same way. You're like, somehow I'm gonna win this race. Like even though like all the cards are stacked against you.
I didn't think I was going to win because I thought maybe only one of the cars would run out. But what ended up actually happening, oh, and then a second Hyundai broke on the back straight on like 2 laps to go. So it was coming to the white flag. That car was sitting there, and I'm like, wrong car again.
Yeah,
Shit.
dang
And
it.
then coming to the checkered, like coming out of NASCAR 4, the car in second ran out of gas. Then going into 1, the car in third ran out of gas, and then going onto the banking on the cooldown, the first place car ran out of gas. So literally within the infield distance of the Daytona International Speedway road course, if we had one more lap, I would have won that race.
Yep. Or if
Which is like mind blowing to me how close that actually came. But that was like
can you imagine
all
if
there was no amount. What? Sorry, what?
like if that because that's like what that's like 40 seconds, right? So if the caution came out like 40 seconds earlier and everyone had to do it at one additional lap, maybe they would have saved a little bit more or whatever. But like if it just ended up just going one more lap for whatever reason, like maybe the GS field was running faster than they thought. You know what I
Or-
mean?
Or we got the extra lap from the Rolex
Yeah.
added to our race.
Yeah, exactly. If the 24
You
hour
saw that, right?
if the 23-hour and 58-minute race ended up like Michelin Pilot Challenge gets that extra 2 minutes, and then
Yeah.
dude, we'll just daydream about it. But that would have probably been a wild celebration.
It ended up being like definitely the best we could have hoped for. But it ended up putting me, this is kind of a weird headspace that I've only found a couple times, but at the end I almost felt like my performance didn't influence the outcome of the race in a way. Because yes, I did have to fuel save. And yes, I did have to drive the car and get it around the track, but my ability did not improve where we ended up, nor did it like put us further back than where we ended up. It was just like what it was, you know?
Yeah.
So it felt like any warm body could have been in this car basically and finished where we plopped, like we plopped in fourth place. But that's not necessarily it's not a happy mentality, but there is a little bit of that feeling there. It's just like,
I get what
you
you're
know,
saying.
I got the car to the finish and we all as a team really got us to the finish as fourth. But like me as the race car driver that I want to be didn't necessarily influence that a whole lot.
I get what you're saying. Like you're saying I wasn't the difference maker like this time around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've also, I mean, I've won races in that fashion where like we ran out of gas on the cooldown lap of the Sebring race that we won in 2019.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, it's like it's like give and take from karma in the universe. But I kind of ended the whole thing just like proud of everybody for batting above our weight for sure.
Yeah.
And then like yeah, just feeling like that was really cool. But also like it's okay that I didn't like make the race. But I also am aware that I didn't really make the race. It was just like I was the one in the car for a portion of the race, and the whole team was the reason we ended up where we are. Whatever. So that was Friday, and then Saturday was the race itself, or the 24-hour itself. And one of the main things I wanted to do was go to race control because
Hold on.
the race director. What? Sorry. Go ahead.
Was the team pretty psyched about the fourth?
I think we were all in that headspace of like, man, if we came so close. Because I think we'd all done the convincing ourselves that one of the 3 cars was going to run out of gas
That
in a
you'd be
way
on
that
the
would let us be
podium?
on the podium.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is actually good. I think what we all convinced ourselves is what got us to the end, like feeling as excited as we were. Like
Yeah.
it definitely is what got me through the 45 minutes in the car that I had to spend driving around by myself. Because I was convinced that if I saved fuel, it was going to pay off that we would end up on the podium.
Yep.
And I think it seemed like everybody was kind of in that headspace. And we would come through these waves of like, oh my God, I can't believe we just finished fourth. That was amazing. And we actually had a lot of other teams coming up saying like, congratulations, you guys, first of all, you killed it on the pit lane. I don't know how you did like passed everybody on pit lane like that so many times. And just like, you guys are doing the same or more than almost everybody that did in our class anyway, than we should have been than other people are, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at like I mean, if you literally just like stack the money spent on that event like across the whole like pit lane, like Rockwell had to be the lowest, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
and then you guys placed fourth, like that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and the other part, so you can go watch this on my YouTube video that I posted, unless IMSA takes it down for some reason. Now I'm stressed that they're going to reach out and be like, you're being litigated because you posted things that are illegal.
Oh no, you're gonna have suits showing up. It's gonna suck when
Uh,
they show up to Plover, Wisconsin to serve you that letter, Tom. Hmm?
yeah, they're not going to find me.
You'll never get them.
So if you go to the video, one of the cars that passes me is the Road Shagger racing car. It's a dark blue Audi number 61. Those guys are some of my favorite. They're awesome. And the guy in the car at the time was John Morley. And John comes up after the race and he's got kind of that like knowing look on his face. And he's just like, I'm really sorry, dude. Because he pulled out from behind me coming out of turn 6 onto the banking, drives around the high side of me, comes back down in time for the back straight, does what he says in this moment. He goes, that was the worst bus stop of my life. And I see you coming like a freight train. This is him talking to me. See you coming like a freight train. And then I just drive away from you again.
And he's like,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, womp womp.
Yeah. So it was like little moments like that where I'm like, I think people were, if you knew what was going on, we were impressive. If you don't know what's going on, fourth still sounds impressive. Like we are all happy with that.
Yeah, good. I think you guys should be. It was wildly entertaining to watch the race. All right, let's talk about the 24. You went up to race control?
Yes. Yeah. So I wrote down a bunch of stuff. I don't know how long these stories really are. They might just be short little things.
That's
but
fine.
It was all stuff I thought was cool. So, like I said, Bo is the race director. He's the one that's giving our drivers meetings, but he's also the one that's in charge of race control. And his history is he was the race director for Champ Car. Nope, Kart, not Champ Car, Kart, which was like the IndyCar
It was like
rival in the
yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s. So in the early 2000s, he became the race director for Kart. And then when they remerged, he ended up being the race director for Grand Am, which is now IMSA. And then he went to IndyCar in like the early 2010s, back when it was IndyCar. And then he came back to IMSA in 2014. So he's been the IMSA race director for 10 years, but he's got like over 20 years of race directing experience after he stopped being a driver. So he and I have talked a bunch. I have like tons of respect for how he runs the race series and his outlook and whatever, which is probably obvious at this point. But he's been telling me, if you want to come visit race control, feel free, come on up. Like it would be cool. Like I could see myself doing that job in a couple, like 10, 15, 20 years, whenever I decide to step away from trying to pro drive. And dude, it's incredible up there. Like the machine they have built around what they do is like, could be studied for like corporate coaching, for like building teams
so?
in any setting. It's unbelievably smooth and chill. So what I was expecting, I'll walk in, they're going to be doing stuff constantly, and I'm going to like stand over their shoulder. I walk in, this is for the video listeners only. He's like this in his chair.
Tom has his arms back,
Lean
like
back.
just chilling. He could have a cat on his lap right now.
Yeah. So he's like this, and I see him across the room, and he finally sees me, and he stands up, and he comes over, and he just starts talking. And we're chatting. They have the bank of 64 TVs or whatever. It's 8x8. Is that 64?
That's 64. Look at you.
I think they had 64 TVs. It's all of the live streams plus all the in-cars. They're all facing it, but there's like 6 people around, and that's where he stood up from. And he ends up, we're talking, and he's kind of running me through like, this person's doing this person's doing this. Emma from Grid Life and formerly ASM got hired by IMSA, so she's in there doing her job.
Oh, I didn't know she got hired by
getting
IMSA.
trained and stuff.
Dude, that's badass. I didn't know Emma was hired by IMSA. That's super badass.
Yeah, so she's in race control. But there's like a quick definition of the team in there. There's the race director and a couple of driver stewards who are like, I think Christian Fittipaldi's one of them, and Elliott Forbes Robinson, I think, is the other one. So like pretty big names from pro driving over the years. And they're essentially on the replays. So when something questionable happens that a team or somebody calls in, they go to the replay, they're going through it trying to make a call. They have a rubric for every penalty that a team could possibly get and what it is for penalties. So like if you do this, then this is your penalty. And they go through the replay and they assign the penalty. On top of that, there's a person communicating with the pit lane staff. Then there's a person communicating with the teams via instant messenger and calling radio calls there's like 3 people running the instant messenger plus the radio to the teams. Then there's a person on the radio to all of the trucks like around the track, and they're all working in unison. They all know what their jobs are, and Bo, the guy I'm talking to, is not even involved with any of it. So we're just talking, and all of a sudden he's literally describing like if something were to happen, caution wise, these people all they jump in. As he's doing it, the first LMP2 car that crashed in the bus stop stuffs it into the wall, and like the cameras all cut to that, and I'm like that, and he turns and he goes full course yellow, and then there's just like this quiet buzz of everybody doing what they're supposed to do. Everything gets under control, and he just starts talking to me again, like literally that
Dude,
fast.
that guy sounds so badass.
I know, it was so impressive.
Is your like just jaw open? You're like this is the coolest dude I've met in a while.
It was like meeting the captain of the coolest spaceship, and he's just like chill, and this whole spaceship just runs around him.
Cool.
So, I was also there with Drew Turner. If Grid Life people will know Drew, probably, or Binge Track Days people will know Drew. So he's with Momo Motorsports. So he's up there with me. The two of us are just talking, and both of us are like, "This is crazy cool. This is so impressive." So at one point, then during the yellow, all the cars come in for their pit stops, and which part happens first? Let me check my notes. Hang on.
I'm gonna turn on the Thomas the Train Engine music real quick.
No, it's not a rant.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so basically when cars are coming in and out of the pit lane, oh shoot, I forgot this part. It'll come back to me. I'll go to the next part. But oh no, I remember it. Sorry, that took forever. So the first set of cars comes through, and then they all finish their pit stops, which is prototypes. So GTP P2 cars go through the pit lane, and the guy that's on comms with the pit lane officials gets a call that this car working on the car out of the pit box boundaries, and the guy just reads it out loud. He just says car X working on the car out of the pit lane boundaries. And mid-sentence talking to me, Bo goes, drive-through penalty, and then starts talking to me again because he knows exactly what it is. And they just, okay, drive-through penalty. They communicate it down. The cars to do drive-through penalty. Well, then they were explaining that like they keep track of when everybody has pitted. And because this car had hit the concrete and it looked like a pretty big crash, one of the first things they checked after dispatching stuff, getting everything under full course yellow, was when the last time everybody had pit and whether it was possible that anybody had started to cut it close on fuel and might need a pit stop. And he said that they actually account for how quickly somebody might need a pit stop versus for how quickly they open the pits. So if everybody's been through the pit lane and has reasonably been out of the track in a way that they're not going to run out of gas, they will take their time to make sure that it's safer, that the full course yellow gets everything collected and cleaned up.
How do they do that
like
quick?
Under control?
Do they just have like a running spreadsheet?
I think they have something that shows amount of time since last pit stop.
And it just
because
updates.
We drive on and off a pit lane through timing loops. They know exactly when we've come and gone.
Okay, it being automated through like a separate timing loop makes a lot of sense. I thought they were like spotting it, and I'm like, that takes too much human. Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah, we pass through timing loops on pit lane, so that's how they do our speed limit stuff too. But I just thought that was so crazy that they're on top of things in such a level that if they know that a bunch of teams are going to need fuel, they're like rushed to open the pit lane faster than if they know everyone's chill. So they, like I explained, all the people different doing the things. And I thought the rubric of like penalties that they could get was also super smart, because then something else happened and they were like, the guy that I'm talking to, Bo, is like, I don't remember, go check the rubric for what the penalty is. And it ended up being like a stop plus 60-second hold. But my favorite part was they had redefined or redone the rules for the full course yellows and how the pit stops all worked.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you might have noticed. Did you notice they were closing pit lane and the cars kept stacking up at pit out during the 24-hour during the pit cycles?
Yeah. What was that about?
So they instituted a new rule to like expedite the cars getting reorganized, that the pit lane closes until the last car on track passes the pit out, and then they open pit out.
Oh, that's actually really smart. It like really speeds up that process. Dude,
Right.
that's so
The
clever.
problem is all of the prototypes come in because they open the pit lane for prototype first. They all come in, they all go back out. Then they take their sweet ass time because they're under full course caution. They're thinking they can just like get back up to the pace car whenever.
Yeah, and save
But
fuel.
when they're taking their time,
Yep.
all the GT cars come in, all the GT cars finish their pit stops, and then they have the end of the pit lane closed. So all the GT cars swarm and pack up at the end of the pit lane like a mob, waiting for the last prototype to come by. Then the pit lane opens and everybody rushes to the track. So that was the only time he was like, I just need to watch the track. I need to see how this new process goes. And it goes like shit. Like half the cars stop in the wrong place. They all like 2 cars ran the pit lane thing and drive right by the red light.
Oh,
everything.
no.
Like, what are they doing? So at the end of the whole thing, he's like, you know what? I don't know that the GT cars are ever going to get it right.
That's funny.
It was just funny to hear him be like,
So, are you telling me
frustrated with a bunch of pro drivers.
Yeah. Did you see that the GT, I can't remember if it was D or whatever, pro or not pro, whatever, a GT3 BMW like ran into the back of a Ferrari and spun them and then only got a drive-through penalty? Or no. They got a warning. They got a warning. He literally like wrecked the dude and got a warning. So I'm wondering where
On pit lane?
No, it was in turn 3.
Mm.
So it was pretty obvious, and then he only got a warning. So I'm like wondering where that is in the rubric. I was like, and the guy in the Ferrari was kind of being an asshole, so maybe that's part of the rubric. So it like he kept it's like they weren't racing each other, but like the Ferrari thought he was, but like they weren't. Like they weren't even.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Atkins says he only got a 4X.
Yeah. There is still a little bit of like the NASCAR mindset, meaning, you know, like the race others how you want to be raced. So like if you just clean somebody out, they're going to give you a penalty. But I remember back in 19 when I was in the Civic, we had like a 1-lap restart at VIR. And I restarted, I think 5th. And I was racing to be on the podium, obviously. So I got up the inside of turn 1, which put me on the outside of NASCAR 3 into 4. And I kind of like broke late and threw it up the outside to be around the outside, which put me 3 wide with 2 cars that were already towards the apex inside. And the car that I put in the middle ended up knocking me off track and breaking my wheel, which made the tire go flat. And we got like last of the running cars on the lead lap. And I was really pissed because this guy didn't leave me enough room to stay on the track, and he like knocked me off the track. And that's how my car got damaged. So I went to Bo. It's like, I believe in going to the person who's in charge to understand why you didn't get your way.
Yeah.
Like basically I thought this guy should get a penalty. So he's explaining to me there's a level of race others how you want to be raced here. This person didn't necessarily intend to knock you off the track. They weren't being malicious. They weren't doing anything like that they weren't supposed to do. And you chose to put yourself in that hole that ended up going away. And everybody had to be too perfect in that scenario. I don't remember exactly the words he used, but this is what I took away. Everybody had to be so perfect in that scenario based on the decision I made 2 corners back, that because I ended up getting hit and knocked off the track and getting my race ruined, it was still like an equivalent driver to driver type thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes
Which
sense.
I wasn't really happy with that, but if that's what the guy in charge says, then I'll race to that, and I'll like make sure that I'm aware of that next time. So I'm always going to race people the way that he sees it.
Yeah, it's actually, you kind of see why he has the job, right? Because if he lays it out like that clear, and if he did word it in the way of like you were making everyone have to be so perfect, like that makes a lot of sense. Like, because I mean, I've done that too, where like I'll put myself in a situation where like everyone has to be perfect and it's fine, and then it doesn't work out, and then I'll be upset about it. But like, I'm still the one that forced everyone to be perfect when I know I'm racing against humans who are imperfect. So
Yeah.
that's gonna happen.
And only to say this because it's my most recent racing experience, primarily GLTC, right? Is in GLTC, they attempt to investigate and then hold people accountable for like every contact. Everything that happens on track has a follow up and a consequence.
Yep.
Almost to a fault. No, almost to a like unfollow throughable level. Like I don't have the words, but they're hoping to be so on top of everything versus this is just another way to come at it. Like Bo is just like, you put yourself there. He was doing his best, you were doing his best, and then you got the short end of the stick. So it's kind of like, where do you want, what level of scrutineering do you really want to be doing? And I think the level that they expect is probably good for pro.
Yeah.
Because if this Ferrari was being a dick and the BMW finally dumped him because they were both trying to be too perfect, sorry.
I wish I wish it wasn't a 24-hour race because then I might be able to go find the clip, but
Yeah.
there's no way I'll be able to find it. But yeah, it was just like he wasn't gonna make the corner. He literally just poof, like ran into the back of him. The Ferrari went spinning. Could see the guy in the car like, "Ah!" And then and then the BMW just keeps going. I think he was like the leader in GTD Pro, and this other guy was in AM and not in the lead, and it like wasn't even. It was just like, dude, get like you're not. You guys aren't in the same race. That's I might be misremembering it, but that's how I remember it. Where it's like, I understand exactly where that BMW driver is coming from. Where it's like we're in the same cars, but we're not having the same race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a white BMW?
It was.
Okay, yeah, that's a pro car. But in IMSA, on the flip side of that, you do have to be aware of all these little processes that I was talking with Mike Hersion, who used to be at FCP Euro. They raced GT4 with FCP Euro in IMSA. So he's raced under these rules too. And we were talking about how it's really easy to get yourself stressed about all the little processes that you have to be aware of. And if you do them wrong, you end up getting penalized or get in trouble. So the wave around stuff is one of them. Like this guy in the Ferrari might have been getting told, stay on the lead lap for like everything you're worth. Stay on the lead lap, stay on the lead lap. Because if the caution came out and he was in front of his leader in the queue, then he gets a wave around and they get basically the entire lap back.
Maybe that's what was happening. Maybe I don't know if when it happened if that guy was in the lead. I don't think he was, because I would have understood that fight. But the fight that was happening, I was like, what are we doing here? That's
it was probably what you're talking about.
I don't remember the full. Is this the? Oh, did somebody timestamp it? All right, hold on.
While you watch it.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna. Hold on.
This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism
okay, hold on.
killer. And this is a metabolism killer.
This is not. Is this
Here,
showing up on the
40.
stream? That's it. Just skip that. I'm trying to show this.
While you find it, and then the rest of the race. Oh, you found it. That was pretty quick.
Hagen in his debut doing a fantastic job, and he just.
Okay. Wait, do that one more time.
Yep,
Sorry for the audio listeners,
back.
but you can go watch this on YouTube.
Checked in with the number 1 Paul Miller.
So the BMW goes to the inside, and there's a P2 car on the outside that the Ferrari reacts to, it looks like.
Yep, he just got a warning for that.
Yeah, that makes total sense in IMSA context.
Does it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Oh, dang it. I am going to
I don't know. We could dive into it and stuff.
Will I get demonetized for that? Oh, no. I ruined
we're not
everything.
We're not monetized.
I ruined everything, guys. The podcast is over. I don't know what... This is me acting like I don't understand what demonetized means. It feels like I'm going to be like nuked out of existence. Tom illegally
We're gonna be in court for
showing.
years.
Yep, I'm illegally showing him some content on the stream, guys. We're the freaking pirates of IMSA.
Yeah.
if I ever win the lottery, my the livery on the car will just be like a pirate ship, and our like little our little lollipop thing will be like a pirate flag. It's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, so a couple of quick thoughts after that's the majority of the weekend, but for the rest of the race, my one lap teammate from the Corvette years 21 and 22, he knows the guy that owns Wheelan Engineering, because they used to race in the Viper Cup together. So he goes to the guy that owns Wheelan Engineering, who is now the title sponsor of MX5 Cup, and they had like a box that they had shared with a bunch of people down in the grandstands, not up in the grandstands, and got us suite passes. So we got to go into this place. They had like buffets and bars and like a bunch of the boxes. It was super cool. So I felt like somebody, because I was like up in the where the cool people and the rich people sit. And that's how I got to eat I didn't have to buy any food because I ate their food.
That's probably not.
It's great.
Steve probably didn't even think of that. He's like, oh, Tom, come up and hang out. And then you're just like, oh, cool. I don't have to buy food.
Yeah, literally, we're living different lives slightly.
Yeah.
So that was awesome to sit up in the box. And then something else that was super cool that happened that I wasn't expecting to notice, but I did during the initial start, when all the pomp and circumstance and they've done the whole thing and all the fans are watching the start, was the first time I can think of like ever for a sports car race that I've seen people like cheering when certain cars passed other certain cars. Like at the first time the Ferrari made a pass over the who was the early leader in the GT class? It was the Lexus. When the Lexus got passed by the Ferrari,
like right away,
and like a bunch of the stands, it was a couple laps in.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean. Like right away in the context of 24 hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like within the first green flag window, before the first caution or pit stops or anything, and a bunch of the fans are like cheering, either for Ferrari or for the fact there was a pass. It was like, I don't know if you saw the highest attended race ever for IMSA.
Yeah.
And just the fact that like people knew who was in what car. They were talking about like when one of the Cadillacs went to pass one of the Porsches, I think in GTP, and the guy behind me like shouted out like, "Oh, whoever was in the car, name Bourdais going for it," or something.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so cool that sports car racing has fans like this now.
I think it's from Drive to Survive. I think it like energized a portion of the audience, like the potential audience of the United States that maybe didn't understand how cool racing was. Drive to Survive got them to watch some kind of racing, and then they're like, wait, there's more of this? Like, I gotta go check all this out. And like now they're like just diving into all this different stuff. Dude, like I talk about this at Hawk all the time. I'm like, it's the Drive to Survive effect. Like there's a bunch of new motorsports fans, and eventually they're gonna find their way into like driving on racetracks and stuff. Like, dude, it's gonna be booming. It's gonna be huge. Like,
yeah,
it's events are selling out now. Like there's got to be more events. Like it's coming. Like you have that like all these race car fans are like marinating in it right now. There's a large portion of them that don't understand that they can go race on a racetrack, or like they can at least go drive on a racetrack, right? Like you think about how long you have to be interested in it to be exposed to like, wait, in autocross, wait, I can do that in my car? Oh, wait, there's a track day and I just sign up for it on this motorsports.reg? Wow, look at all these events, right? Like those people are going to start trickling into that. We're going to have like tons of new people in the motorsport space, and it's going to be awesome for us. It's going to be awesome for like the whole community.
I also think IMSA has stepped up their online presence, not their broadcast presence, because I heard it was really bad, but their online like social media presence, accordingly, with what they needed to do for the Drive to Survive-ification of stuff. Because their social media, like, I don't know if it's just me or whatever, but mine's like full. It's all IMSA posts.
Yeah, it's good. I'm seeing them too, and it's like actually capturing my attention.
Yeah.
I had to turn the Peacock stream off and watch.
Dude,
it's just they talked about NASCAR and IndyCar more than the like actual racing that was happening on track. Like, tell me the stories. Like, give me like the inside scoop of like why this team is impressive to even be here. Like, they were just talking. Oh yeah, so and so. They also race an IndyCar, and let's talk about their IndyCar career for like 20 minutes. And like, I'm like, I get it, guys. Like, you're commentating a 24-hour race, but like make the race interesting to me, not like some other events that I could be watching after this.
Yeah. We did the same. We were listening to and watching the NBC online broadcast of qualifying. And we realized like there's 15 minutes of qualifying, like 10 minutes into the 15-minute session, on the NBC coverage, they had not talked about qualifying at all. We had no idea who was where. They were talking about some guy who is like in this car. And yeah, I talked to him this morning and they're talking, it was the Ford or something. And we muted it and we switched over to the IMSA TV audio only and watched the broadcast. And they were talking about like, this person's purple in sector 2. Oh, well, keep an eye on this car. They're coming through. Oh, this person jumps up. Like they're actually following the action. It was so much more compelling.
That's what I wanted. But maybe we're in the, maybe like to the casual motorsports fan, like the people who are like dabbling in, maybe they find the Peacock one, like, cause like we're kind of outside of the ordinary, right? So I don't know.
You calling me weird?
I'm saying, no, I'm not calling you weird. I'm saying both of us are weird.
You know what? You're weirder.
That's fine. I recognize this 100%.
And Carlton, you're the weirdest.
Definitely.
When I was up going to race control, I passed Brian Till, who's one of the booth broadcasters for NBC.
Yeah.
And the first thing he's like, "Are you here to talk? You want to talk on the broadcast?" And I was like,
For the 24?
For the NBC one, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? Yes. And I said,
Bro.
I would, but I feel like I'm not in this. Like, I'm not a part of this.
Bro.
I would love to be, but I'm
Bro.
not. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to be on this thing right now. So I
Tom!
turned him down on that one.
No.
But I wanted to
You
be like,
coulda- you
I wanted to
coulda
be like, you
plugged the
guys, what are
Lizard
you
Brain-
doing?
You could have plugged the Lizard Brains podcast, dude. Oh, we would have gained
Yeah, I
like
coulda.
1,000 listeners like instantly.
I did go on the PA during the roar and I plugged our podcast,
You did?
but you know,
What's the
I did the
PA though?
outside looking in perspective. Like if someone's watching TV on NBC, are they going to tune in and care what Tom O'Gorman has to say about this series? The likelihood I directed for them and I like passed on that. But anyway, I wanted to be like, what are you guys doing? Like, can you please focus on the race more?
You should have been like, yeah, I'll
It's
sit
really
down.
hard to watch.
And you put the headphones on and you're like, all right, guys, real talk. What are you guys doing up
Yeah.
here?
What if I go on and instead of talking about myself or anything I'm doing, I only try to like focus on the race.
Yeah,
Like I
you
try to pull their attention in.
You just start commentating the race and then like the ratings spike up and then Tom O'Gorman has a commentary job on NBC Peacock and those guys are on the unemployment line begging for food.
The directors in the back are like, what is he doing? What's he talking? He's
What's he
talking about the race. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Try to get him to talk about something else.
Get him to talk about NASCAR.
Yeah.
Ask Tom's opinion on NASCAR.
We haven't said IndyCar in 35 seconds. They're gonna kill us. Say IndyCar. And then the last fan part that was super cool was they did a fan activation.
Ryan Christoph in the chat, he goes, cut the hinge clip. Cut the hinge clip.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
They did a fan engagement thing at the place across from the Speedway, which is like this huge outdoor like patio park atrium space. So there's like trees and it's like like fake grass and they have a stage set up and all this. We brought our car over there and our car was because of who we are and what we're driving. We were the last car, but we were the last car, meaning we were the first car. Everybody walked by to get into the place. And when we pulled up, there was some families standing there and we looked at one of the kids. They're like, do you want to sit in the car? And the kid's like, yes. So then we like open the door and get the little kid in the car. And it turned into an hour and a half straight of people sitting in our car, like
so
getting in and
cool.
out and talking to people. And like, I saw one of the families the next day picking up Chick-fil-A for lunch. And they're like, you're the driver that let us sit in your car. We're going to come see you tomorrow. We're going to cheer for you. That's all the kids could talk about last night because you got to sit in a race car and stuff.
That's so cool. That's
I know.
so
That was
cool.
like one of my favorite parts of the week.
Did I ever tell this story on my last GLTC race at Mid Ohio? How I came in for quali, and I was just gonna like put a little bit more fuel in the car and then like go back out and like let the tires cool down. I talk about that. I came
Maybe.
in.
Go for it again.
It was an extra long quali session. It was like a half hour long or whatever. So I went out there, did some laps, got impeded a little bit. I think it was Ryan Christoph that impeded me. Actually, he's in the chat right now. So I had to like check up a little bit in 6. So like, but it was like a really well executed lap. But other than that, like he probably only cost me like a 10th or whatever. And I came in and saw that I was like 2nd or 3rd, and I was like, that's not too bad. And then a bunch of little kids came up, and they were like looking at the car and whatever, and I was like ready to like go back out, and then the little kid like saw that I was like walking toward the car, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm in your way." And I'm like, I opened up the door and was like, "Do you want to sit in it?" So like that's how I spent the rest of quali. Like literally quali's still happening, and I had like little
Aw.
kids in my car, because they could have went to any car in the entire paddock, but for some reason they walked up to a Honda Civic and were like excited about it. So like obviously I'm gonna open up the door for them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
ended up qualifying like fifth or sixth or whatever. But I don't know if I like fix that 10th or whatever. Yeah, it's your fault, Ryan. He says sorry.
That's so rude. I
But,
love that though. That's
But yeah, it's like it's you know, you can be full on full lizard, and then the moment like little kids are excited about the thing that you're doing, like it kind of like brings you back to like the man, little kid version of me would think like in this moment I am so freaking cool, and like you're just like you just kind of have to like bathe in it like while that moment lasts. Yeah.
and it turned into like full grown adults. Like everybody and their mother was, because it was our backup car, so it had the exact same livery on it.
Oh, nice.
Not backup car. It was not backup. I said the wrong word, but basically it couldn't have raced. It wasn't like ready to race, but it was just sitting in the paddock. So we like made it look like that was the one we were racing.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter. It's like our parts car. That's what I meant. And yeah, letting all those people sit in it. And then the last thing, I kept thinking of Tom rants through the week, and I realized that after like the third or fourth idea, they all just boil down to me being impatient. So I'm going to skip them this week.
You being impatient. Turns out Tom has no time for anything.
No, the one that I don't need to rant about it, but I was laughing at myself. I went to the PA and I talked with Greg Creamer on the PA for like 45 minutes during the roar. And I realized that I was like, I needed time to get back from the exterior to the interior to get to our session. And I was supposed to be in the car, let's say at 4:30, and it was like 3:45. I'm like, oh, that's cutting it kind of close. So I leave the PA booth, and then my blood proceeded to boil all the way back to our paddock because there was no way for me to tell everyone else to get out of my way because I'm a driver. I need to get back to my car, and I didn't plan ahead well enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, this should be a Tom rant. Oh wait, no, I'm just impatient and can't plan very well.
Yeah. I feel like I would fall for the same thing because you would lose track of time like hanging out with Greg and just like BSing on the PA, and then next thing you know it's like, oh, I kind of need to go drive a race car, like hold on.
Yeah.
And then you don't
Yep.
plan plan for like actual people to be there to get in your way. Yep. So
All right, that's all I have from Daytona. I hope that was interesting storytelling because I just took up the entire podcast.
I loved it. It was great. That was fun, Tom. I'm so glad that you got to do that. Is there any plans for more races this year, or like what does Rockwell's schedule look like?
Ooh, should I do like a prelim announcement?
Oh,
Podcast announcement only?
wait, is it going to be announced before Thursday?
No.
So
I kind of want to though.
okay, here it comes.
Okay, so the live
Wait, should I
chat says
bleep it
yes.
out? Wait, should we end the show and only the live audience gets it to encourage people to come to the Discord? How about this, Tom?
Yes.
How about
I'm going to be vague, and then when we end, the live listeners all get the specifics.
should I leave the video
about that?
recording going so people that tune into the YouTube, so we get views and clicks on the YouTube video?
No, I don't.
That's
Sure,
too
whatever.
much? That's too much.
However that works. However that works on your back end. Sure.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna end the episode.
So maybe more IMSA.
Okay.
Definitely a lot more
We didn't end
racing.
the episode, so it's still going. So maybe more IMSA. What was the other one?
And definitely more racing,
Okay.
which I'm very excited about.
That is definitely a teaser. Chat NDA. Raul. Yeah, you guys all signed the NDA, right?
Yeah, you better have.
Okay. We got some interesting emails this week, but I think we'll answer them next week because we're an hour and 24 in right now. And
Damn, I really did take up the whole thing.
that's fine. That's fine. I wanted all the details, and I'm so glad that you took notes because I bet there's a lot of that you wouldn't have completely remembered if you didn't take the notes. So honestly,
Totally.
I think the takeaway from this episode might be if you have something, like I wish I would have taken notes after when I was in Arrive and Drive for Winding Road Racing, because I would like in hindsight I would like to remember that more than I currently remember it because our human brains are bad at remembering things in detail. So like
Yep.
if you do something cool, like maybe just like take some time to jot down some notes or I don't know, even like send a text to somebody explaining like the whole thing so like you can go back and recount it and like kind of relive through it. So like I'm sure, 10 years from now or whatever, Tom, like you might listen to this episode and go like, damn, that was pretty badass. That was cool when we got fourth or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel like, kind of on that note, my attention to social media shifted over the last couple of years towards doing social media because I was supposed to. When I always thought like the first 10 years, let's say, that I had social media, it was recounting things that I was so excited about that I would have a record of it,
Yeah.
Let's just pretend it'll always be there. Um, I feel like something to do for yourself that you have record, whether it's a YouTube video for everybody else to watch or social media posts or just a journal or whatever. I agree with you. I've thought about journaling a little bit, but in general, I try to treat social media more like that.
Dude, I used to
This is the coolest stuff I saw.
Yeah, I used to
Go
do
ahead.
like recap post of like different events and like on Facebook, like I would like write up a whole thing and like I would do like one for like every year and like the things I was most proud of for the year and the things I wanted to work on and stuff like that. And I just kind of I've gotten like away from it like the last couple of years. And when those
Yeah.
come up in like my memories and I go and read them, I like super enjoy like reading through that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I was at like that stage of my journey. I should like I should just make it an effort to like do those more, not for in the moment, but like for future me to like really be able to recount like the memories that were made and like really try to like really just try to just remember that moment in my life. Um, because yeah, like years pass and you know, busy and you just you don't remember it exactly how you used to.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right,
And
Tom.
those little moments go away. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. You
I
ready?
agree. I'm
Do
ready.
you want to do
Guys,
the outro?
really appreciate. Well, what are you doing this week?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Um Oh yeah, this last weekend while you were doing Daytona stuff, I did so much iRacing coaching, Tom. That might be the most I've ever done in one weekend. And yeah, it was actually very it's like a lot of breakthroughs over the weekend. So that was like it was like a really really rewarding weekend for me. Uh so yeah, I hope I have more weekends like that. That I could do that forever. Um and then this weekend
Would
hopefully is more of the same. What's up?
I'm going to give you a chance to plug. Like, how many people? But out of a organic question, how many people can you coach in a week? Do you think? Like, have you done the math on like this is my realistic amount of people, and like, are you getting that? And
My weekdays are really tough to fit people in, just because we record the
yeah,
podcast. I have band rehearsal, and then I do league racing and stuff like that. I can do Friday evening and then Saturday and Sunday as it stands right now, until I go and do like the real car stuff starts up again. I don't know what I'm gonna do at that point. Maybe I turn Mondays into like racing day or
I think I know.
and then well I won't have like league racing on Wednesday, so then I'll be able to coach people then and stuff like that. But I could probably I don't want to like tire myself out because like every person that I coach, I want them to get like full blast DJ. I don't want them to get like petered out DJ. Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah.
so I
What did
bet
Peter ever do to you?
so the sessions they go from like an hour to an hour and a half, and then like basically after like because there's a lot of focus and it's really hard to focus on new stuff for more than an hour. So hour and a half. I had 6 this last weekend, but I bet I could do 5 on each day and still like have like full blast DJ. So I have 4 more spots, everyone, before I have to like start turning people away. So
You go.
it's yeah, it's fun. And I've changed it. I used to do The show's still going, everyone. So I used to do coaching where like people would just check in every once in a while. And when I like started to try to like evaluate like how do I get, because like what's rewarding for me is like if those people are seeing like breakthroughs and like they come away from the thing like excited to like practice, right? I don't I don't want to watch them practice. I want to give them homework to go practice it out, right? Because that's the benefit of the sim is like you can do it over and over and over again. So when we find like some like really tangible stuff for them to go figure out, and then and then this is where I've changed my approach. It's like I give the homework, and then we do like a follow up the next weekend, or like we have the same time every week, and we meet up and we go over like the homework and then we go over like whatever we're working on that week, and then they get assigned more like quote unquote homework, and that repetition of like the once a week is like really, really powerful for like their like rapid ascension and improvement. And I honestly think like, I think like that's probably like the best coaching model like in existence for like actual improvement. Like Tom, like I know you coach pretty much exclusively in real life, but can you imagine if you were coaching the same driver every single weekend, but at like a new track? Like how quickly they would get better.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
like,
I've done that with one or two people in a smaller context than you can in the sim, but yeah, that's how it works.
yeah, the like the repeatability, like like the continual checking in and the assigning homework, and then like having like communication like throughout the week of like how's it going, how's this going, like stuff like that. Like you really do see like really really good improvements. And it's making it much more rewarding and engaging for me because it's a little tough when you're it doesn't feel like they're making progress, and like because you take it on yourself like they can't uh they can't like you're not breaking through to like what their weaknesses are, and you just can't find a way to communicate it where like it's like there's like progress. Um so I feel like the every weekend thing is like really really working out. And I never pushed that before, but now like if I coach somebody for the first time, I like try to set up the next appointment like as that appointment's ending, so like it's already on the calendar and like ready to go. Like from a
Right.
logistical coaching standpoint, like I feel like that's where I've improved like a lot this winter, is to like always get that next session like booked up and like ready to rip.
Yep.
So that's
Cool.
that's my plug for coaching. I got 4 spots.
Coach DJ, hit him up.
Whoop whoop.
And I'm racing at Eagles Canyon in WRL
Oh, you
with
are?
with Salil and Mike Forsyth and their other friend, son. And we had a snowmobile trip with our family got canceled because they ain't got no snow. So I pivoted my plans and I'm going racing.
Is Matt Waldbaum going?
Yeah. So Andy maintains the car I'm racing and then also maintains Alex Moss's car.
That's who he's racing with.
And
Okay.
Andy, Alex, Aaron Lichty, and Matt are doing that car
Oh, that would be
together.
fun too. So we
Yeah.
could follow along on social media.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. Can't wait.
So that's they actually WRL might have a pretty cool live stream. If they do the same thing they did at Coda, I'll try to post it. If they don't, they don't. But that's what I'm doing this weekend.
Cool.
Be fun.
I'm excited for you. That would be fun.
Thanks.
Hopefully the car stays together because we know how real cars are.
Yeah. We have some new parameters since the last time when they blew it up again.
What is that? Lower RPM or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The long story short is they targeted short shifts at the highest possible resonance target RPM, and they spent like a majority of the race targeting that high resonance RPM and blew the engine
Okay.
up really fast.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. So now we know to shift before that point.
You go slightly slower, but finish the race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Honestly, I'm excited to drive Eagles Canyon in a sports car like that because I've only driven it in the Corvette and the Porsche, and they were like super fast supercars on 300 tread tires. I want to drive it on like a race car on race tires and stuff,
That would be fun.
or on Bridgestones.
I'm jelly.
Yeah.
You're gonna
I'll tell you about it next week.
You're gonna be so
Take up a whole
dialed
new
in.
podcast.
Yeah, you're gonna be so dialed in for when one lap happens. You're gonna be like, you've already been driving like a bunch of cars like already throughout the year.
I hope so.
Yeah. I'm already making excuses, everyone.
You'll get there. It's like 4 months away.
Yeah. We'll get there. All right, Tom, you want to send us out?
Guys, thank you so much for listening to my long stories. I hope they were worth your time. I appreciate everyone cheering me on. It was super awesome. And I love your hair. Hope we win.
Did I have my filter
That
on?
was
Is
rough.
that why you couldn't hear it? Yeah, okay.